many people around the world hate America, and even within our own country, the hatred toward President Bush, I have never seen this kind of vitriol. See, Madonna hanging on a cross to me is, I don't care, she's silly, she's stupid. The woman is silly and stupid.
You think? It's very disturbing to hear anyone suggest that this isn't a serious crime, that a few months in prison is
accountant didn't say it wasn't a serious crime. He just doesn't think it's. He doesn't think, as the Vermont people don't think, that it serves society to have this guy in prison.
Yeah, but if you think 90 days is enough, then you don't think it's a serious crime. And not only is it essential that children be raped and abused, and in this case we're talking about whips and torture. I mean, that's the kind of photography we're talking about. This isn't some sort of, little boy on the beach without clothes on. Whips, S&M stuff with very little boys. And real kids suffer terribly when they are used to make this, as you
making and manufacturing this, then as a judge I would give the guy a break, so give me this guy. But don't say the feds kicked the guy door. If he's got 10,000 pictures, he not only deserves to have his door kicked in, he deserves to have his house burnt down. Well, all right, so I'm not feeling sorry for this guy.
I do. I mean, they smashed the time. Yes, I do.
Wait. Yeah. You feel sorry for this guy?
I do. You know why? It's the chief of police said to me and gave me a letter saying there's no evidence that he ever touched anyone.
It doesn't matter. He had 10,000 pictures of kids being abused.
He's looking at them in his house, enjoying them in his house. Why is that a big deal? He's alone in his home. He said to the FBI agent when they came in, I watched them. I'm alone. I don't do anything. I've never touched anyone.
It doesn't matter. The kids were abused for his enjoyment.
Okay, but that's in another country.
It doesn't matter. If he didn't do it, there wouldn't be another country manufacturing it.
One guy? You're going to put one guy in jail?
Yeah, I am. I'm going to put all the guys that I find in jail, and the women too.
We can house them.
You started off reasonable. Think about this. President Harry Truman ordered atomic bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki during World War II. Hundreds of thousands of Japanese civilians were killed. Truman did this to save the lives of hundreds of thousands of American military people who were poised to invade Japan. My father was one of them. The liberal icon Franklin Delano Roosevelt approved the bombing of German cities. Again, hundreds of thousands of people died. It was war, and you have to win the war. But today, forget about bombs. Some Americans believe you can't waterboard captured terrorists, even when thousands of American lives are at stake. That is insane, ladies and gentlemen. The president, and he alone, must have the power to approve extraordinary interrogation methods when American lives are in danger. Enough of this nonsense. Okay? My new book, Culture Warrior, which will be out on Monday. Giant ad in the New York Times. That'll tee those people off over there, won't it? Now, I've told you that we are going to be attacked because of this book, and the dirty tricks have already begun. For example, the committed left-wing magazine Washington Monthly called my publisher and asked for an advance copy of Culture Warrior. When the publisher said, who should we send it to? Washington Monthly gave them a guy who writes for the left-wing smear site Media Matters. Nice try, no book. Another crazy left guy lied to Newsmax.com about his intent to review Culture Warrior. Newsmax has taken action against the man, and we appreciate that very much. We expect more of this kind of stuff, and we'll keep you posted. Tonight, voter fraud is unfortunately a fact of life in America. It usually involves people paying other people to vote a certain way, but sometimes illegal aliens vote, usually after saying they are somebody else. In order to stop that, the House has passed a law where voters would have to produce a photo ID before they are allowed to vote. The New York Times and others say that's discrimination against the poor. I say bull. But Al Sharpton sees it differently. The Reverend joins us now. Before we get to that topic, Reverend, I do want you to react to what Congressman Rangel said today about Hugo Chavez. Roll it.
But you don't come into my country, you don't come into my congressional district, and you don't condemn my president.
Okay, now you were up at that event. With
No,
Hugo Chavez.
I didn't go.
Oh, you didn't go?
No, I was not there. I was doing my radio show that you've been on Syndication 1.
Right.
But I do agree with Rangel that name-calling is wrong. I happen to also think it's wrong when Bush calls people evil. It's almost the same thing. But I would not engage in name-calling. And if I were to talk to Chavez, I would tell him he's got a lot more to say than to just get into some name calling.
Okay, so, but you're not objecting to him insulting the President of the United States. You're just objecting to him using name calling.
I think he and the President need not insult each other. I think that when the President calls people axes of evil, that's name calling.
Well, you don't think North Korea and Iran and Iraq under Saddam were evil regimes?
I think they've done evil things, and I think when I look at some of the things the President Bush has done, has been very wicked things. But I would. You
think he's done an evil thing?
I think that sitting around 4 days quiet after Katrina was very, very evil.
I think that was a mistake. All right. But be that as it may,
we just talked about the law. So we're talking about the law if it's the judge that agrees with you.
The judge's going to be overturned. You know the judge will be over. Look, in this country, in 5 years.
I hope not.
Okay, tell me why you hope not. Tell me why you don't want everybody to have a photo ID before they vote.
I think the concentration ought to be having the machinery that guarantees voters their votes count. We're concentrating more on National Action Network.
I'm swell with that. I want infallible machines.
I want
my iPod to work 100% of the time. You dodged the question. You don't usually dodge.
No.
You don't usually dodge. What is your objection to a photo ID in order to vote?
Because everyone, starting with senior citizens and starting with people that are laboring all day, do not have the time and wherewithal.
You're telling me you can't carve out the time and get a photo ID? Come on!
Sure,
without a photo ID, you can't get a license. You can't get a passport. You can't do a tremendous amount of things in this country.
And if you are a registered voter, Bill, if you're already registered, and you have gone through the registration process, now you have to go back and
get a photo ID.
No,
so that Ziggy can't vote under your name. You know that.
Ziggy voting under my name is not the problem. The problem is me voting under my name can't have my vote counted.
Oh, stop.
And why are we so afraid of correcting that?
Look, I want the best machines available.
Well, then let's do
this. This is a ruse to have illegal aliens and others who are not entitled to vote to be able to vote.
Bill,
you know the ruse.
I think that the ruse is that we're trying to play distractive politics. We don't have a problem with illegal aliens voting. We have a problem with people that are registered to vote, that have 17 photo IDs, and their votes are not being counted in machines.
Well, they should be arrested if they have 17 votes.
Well, then we ought to be dealing with it.
In
5 years, 17 proper
in 5 years, every American is going to have a national identity card that's tamper-proof. And we should have it. We've got to know who's voting. We have to cut the voter fraud. I'm with you on the machinery.
I agree
you
with
need
you
to be with
that
me
we
on the
should
photo
cut
ID.
Voter fraud, but I am not with you. The way to do it is voter ID, and I think that the concentration of government ought to be to protect the count of the vote.
Okay, weak argument tonight, Reverend. Always good to see you. Former governor of New Jersey, James McGreevey, was embarrassed while in office by revelations he cheated on his wife with guys. Now McGreevey has written a book about his exploits, and some believe it may be damaging to gay Americans.
My wife was recovering from a difficult pregnancy and a C-section in the hospital, and he was my employee. But I took Olam by the hand and led him upstairs to my bed.
You know, he's talking about his wife was in the hospital, delivering a baby, and he's fooling around with this guy. And he did that on the Oprah Winfrey Show.
The idea of change. We believe in forgiveness. Look at this. Newt Gingrich and Rudy Giuliani are two of the leading candidates for president in 2004, and they were both involved in sex scandals.
There's a big difference.
Yes, and
anybody can be accused of anything.
We can forgive Rush Limbaugh. We can forgive.
The suggestion, though, and this is the problem, is that most of us in the public eye who are out have to deal with this kind of imagery prevailing in general.
And I agree with you on that, Tammy. I think you're right. I'm an openly gay person. I know what that's like.
Good for you. For Americans who then hear that they're, but then what we need to do if we're going to have dignity in our community is to stigmatize this behavior. And what he's writing a book now is not to apologize. It's to make a little money because he's got a wife and 2 children and a lover to take care of. He is doing right now. He's as cynical as he was before of doing whatever it takes.
I don't think he's any more cynical than Mary Cheney in the book that she wrote that was critical of Kerry.
Come on now.
Bottom line on it is, I think the guy hurt gay America by doing it. He could have done it in another way, and it would have been a better way. He could have done it with some class. All right, thanks you both for coming in.